Hey YouTube, Savandras here. Today I'm making a quick video about the ESR Flex Keyboard for the iPad. We're going to go over the pros, the cons, and how it compares to other iPad cases that I've used already. As always, the links are in the description, and you can use the code on screen for a discount on ESR's website. Now if we take a look at my iPad, we can see that I've been sent a case for my 2024 M3 iPad Air. It's an 11-inch iPad Air, and we can see that the case is very thin, which is my favorite thing about this case. In my experience, I've had a lot of iPad cases that are pretty bulky, or they don't match the square design that the iPad has with the rounded corners, and I feel like this case does a good job of keeping the iPad looking like an iPad. But of course there's other things to analyze aside from just the shape form factor of this keyboard case. It needs to be functional. So aside from the form factor, we also have a stand on this keyboard case. The keyboard itself is detachable. We of course have keyboard keys, we have a full row of function keys, and then we also have a trackpad that is a full size. In my experience, most of these features have worked very well. What I really like is that I can just take off my keyboard anytime, and I can use this kind of how you would use like a Microsoft Surface. I get to treat my tablet like a tablet and the keyboard like an attachment to that tablet when I need some extra power. So something I personally have been doing is I'm an artist, so I use this keyboard for shortcuts while I'm drawing. I would prop my iPad up on the keyboard stand and just put it into a comfortable position. There are two positions on this keyboard. One that's more for like media consumption and just holding your iPad up, but the other one that's actually really comfortable for drawing and resting your hand on the iPad so you have a comfortable surface to draw on. I've been using the keyboard in tandem with this by putting the keyboard to the side and using it for keyboard shortcuts, and this has helped me when I'm using productivity apps on the iPad like DaVinci for video editing, or if I'm drawing I just use it to use things like Control Z or change my brush size. And I'm doing the same thing in animation apps where I'm flipping through my frames with the left and right keys and changing through my tools, and it really speeds me up more than even touch gestures would for certain things. Now beyond just using this for productivity, you could always use it as a regular keyboard case, and I've been doing that as well, and I can tell you that the keyboard is actually very functional. I really haven't had any issues with misclicks or just nothing coming out of the typing because of Bluetooth issues, which I've had previously with iPad keyboards. This one has always seemed to type accurately, and then I can also use the function keys to easily change like my brightness or anything that I want to. I also like the slot for my Apple Pencil here. I feel a lot of iPad keyboard cases just kind of think of your Apple Pencil as an afterthought, and that's really bad because these are very expensive devices. I think I also forgot to mention it, but the magnets on this keyboard case are actually really strong, and they have little notches where they fit into place perfectly every time. So I think this has been some of my favorite magnets that I've used on any device. Now for the last thing, we do have a touchpad, but this is actually my one gripe with this device. While the touchpad does work and it is functional, I think the top half of the touchpad is pretty hard to click, while the bottom half is really easy to click. Now that isn't a major problem because you can put on tap to click on your iPad, but it just doesn't feel that nice ergonomically for your finger, and it makes it a little weird when you're dragging items. I usually have my finger at the top of the trackpad instead of the bottom, so I find it kind of annoying when I want to go click and I don't feel that actual physical clicky feedback on the touchpad. Nonetheless, I think mouse control on the iPad in general could use a bit of updates and tweaks to how it works, because it's just not the best unless you're using maybe a trackball mouse. So I don't think this should be considered too much of a downside because it's just kind of an addition to a pretty good keyboard case. However, of course, if you're big on your trackpads, this may not be the device for you. Now, aside from the trackpad, the only cons for me on this device are three things, which are really just kind of more so additions than things that actually take away from the functionality of this keyboard. I would love to see some backlit keys on this keyboard just because it's always nice to have backlit keys when you're typing at night. It would also be nice to have like a stand at the bottom of the keyboard just to get your keyboard at a little angle so you can type more ergonomically. And finally, I find that the keyboard case is sometimes a little far from the iPad. I would just like it to be a little bit more compact after it snaps in magnetically. So if they could find a way for the keyboard to move up closer to the iPad, I would really like that. But none of these negatives really take away from the quality of this device. I really found it to be nice. It has a nice finish. It feels nice to feel. It holds my Apple Pencil well and it types well, so I really don't have much to complain about regarding this device. But that's just my opinions. Let me know what you think about this device in the comments. This is the ESR Flex Keyboard and it runs for around $60 USD. When it comes down to its price range, all in all, this is a pretty good iPad keyboard that helps you if you're a power user.